The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates. It does not necessarily reflect the views of WDEL or Forever Media.
The Rick Jensen Show on 101.7 FM, 1150 AM, WDEL, and streaming to your smart speaker and mobile device.
I've been a happy camper client, customer, friend, pal of the folks at Dan White and Associates for many, many, many years. They are financial planners specializing in retirement income. They're studying all the dull and boring things that allow us to go and do things we want to do in our life, plus work and everything. Dan Simon's on the phone. Dan, you're in the Middletown office, right?
I am in the Middletown office today. Rick, how are you?
All right. No, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, you got just went up the road on 202 right across the border in PA, and you guys there in Middletown. Anyway, I think what you're going to talk about today, as we discussed a little bit on the phone during the break, is sometimes people make mistakes or forget to do things. In this case, it might be okay. What is that?
Yeah, so we take care of studying all the boring stuff, as you mentioned. So what I wanted to talk about today was inherited IRAs, and specifically those that are inherited by what's referred to as a non-eligible designated beneficiary. And in most cases, this is a child. If an IRA rolls from spouse to spouse upon death, it's pretty much treated as if it's your own. But when it goes to a non-eligible designated beneficiary, for example, an adult-age child, and that account owner had previously been taking required minimum distributions, they're now subject to what's called the 10-year rule. So they got to empty that account within 10 years. But at the same time, if the account owner, the previous account owner that had deceased, was in the RMD mode, right? So they were taking their required minimum distributions. The IRS said that, that beneficiary would also have to continue taking the RMDs as well as empty the account within 10 years. But recently, July 14th, the IRS ruled that they're waiving that for 2023. Good news to note that if you didn't take an RMD from an inherited IRA and you're a non-eligible designated beneficiary, they are waiving that. And that's for any IRA owner who had passed in 2020 or 2021. And they were after the required beginning date for RMDs. So,
and Dan, here's another. Yeah, I know, but it's another example of why I find government speak to be annoying. Non-eligible. Oh, I'm non-eligible. Well, you're eligible for the money, but what are you not eligible for? Obviously, you're eligible for the money, but the government says you're not eligible for something else. So, what does that designation of non-eligible even mean?
So non-eligible means they're subject to the 10-year rule, whereas an eligible designated beneficiary, for example, a spouse, a minor child, a disabled individual, chronically ill, or an account owner who's not more than 10 years younger than the account owner themselves, for example, a sibling.
Yeah.
They're all considered eligible designated beneficiaries, whereas the non-eligible designated beneficiaries, in most cases, is what I refer to as an adult-age child, is who's subject to the 10-year rule and who they're waiving that RMD for requirement for.
See, Dan Simon, this is why you matter. This is why you're important because.
Thank you. Somebody needed to tell me that.
Yeah, right. I know, right? It's not going to be the kids. It's not going to be the wife. No. It's going to be someone you don't see that often. So, no, because you can decipher government speak. It's a whole foreign language. Nicely done.
It is certainly a foreign language to most, that's for sure.
All right, Dan Simon of Dan White and Associates. Just Google Dan White and Associates. Give them a call. Say, hey, these are really weird times. Can you make sure I don't lose my money in the markets or things like that? And these folks will do that for you as well. 888-690-8820. That's the phone number. And on Sunday mornings at 7 o'clock, Dan White himself presents On the Money. It's Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. Right, Dan?
That's for sure.
All right, my friend.
Sure to be a good show.
All right, thanks so much for calling in. Thanks.